Father, we come to you tonight, Lord. We ask you, Father, give us the wisdom and knowledge we need, Father, to make the decisions best for Hendry County and its residents, Father. Lord, lift the woods up to you, Father God, that afford us this right here. Our veterans, Father, want all of them, Lord. Past, present, and future, the ones that give us this right to stand here in this room, Father, and pray to you. Father, I thank you for our first responders, the ones that are out working tonight, Father, putting their lives on the line daily, Father, running to what most people run away from. I pray that you keep them safe. I pray a hedge of protection around each one of them, Lord, their families, to have peace in you, Lord. Father, I thank you, Lord, for this staff, and I thank you for what they do for the people of Hendry County, Lord. And I just ask everything said and done here tonight would bring you glory, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners being held Wednesday, November 12th, 2025, at 6 p.m. in the City Commission Chambers in Clewiston, Florida. In attendance are Chairperson Emma Byrd, Vice Chair Mitchell Wills, Commissioner Emery Howard, Commissioner Raymond Iglesias, Commissioner Michael Atkinson, County Attorney Matt Rollerson, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, and Deputy Clerk Sharon Congleton.
Thank you. Welcome to Hendry County Board of County Commissioners. If anyone would like to speak, if you would please get a card, fill it out, and give it to the clerk in order to speak. And we ask you to keep your time at up to 3 minutes. Thank you so much. And if you have a device, please silence it for us, please. The first thing up is bids.
Chairman, for the record, Shane Parker, Public Works Director. This is RFQ number 2025-27 for design and permitting services and construction engineering inspection services for a wastewater collection system and wastewater force main pumping system for Hookers Point. Staff's recommendation is to accept the ranking of the selection committee for design and permitting services and to negotiate a contract with Giffords Webster Engineers for design and permitting services. And then for CEI services, selection committee's recommended Erdman Anthony.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. On the agenda, it's up next.
Motion to approve consent.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Will, second by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. Next, we're gonna have a presentation by Ms. Taylor.
Good evening, Commissioners. Happy to see you all still have our government open and operating. So, I'm here tonight to invite you all, a very special invite to the Board of County Commissioners to come to help us cut the ribbon for our amphitheater. It's going to be December the 13th, and it's going to also be a community extravaganza for the community. We're actually going to do the amphitheater dedication at 1, the senior citizen celebration at 2. All day long, we will have the DJ and live music. And then we're actually having snow brought in for the children and some rides and stuff for the children to do. And they've got a kids' hot chocolate bar that they would do. We're also going to have some trucks out there and the children are going to be able to do photo with Santa. But we would like for the commissioners to come help us cut the ribbon. So we think it's an honor, because we've been told it's the first amphitheater in Hendry County. And for it to be in our community, we are more than honored. You hear so many things about us, but for us to have the first, we want you all to come and celebrate with us. I mean, don't be long. You don't have to stay long. Don't take you long to cut the ribbon and come back. So if you want, and if you're a senior citizen, you can actually have dinner with us.
What do you consider?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
When I turned 50, AARP was already sending me, so that,
I think you need to be 62.
I was thinking it was to my right.
This is not just for the commissioners' audience. Everybody in this audience is invited, because I think it's very historical that we are actually doing the first amphitheater. And thanks to Mr. Atkinson, who was the actual builder of it, and a special thanks to U.S. Sugar for partnering with us to build it. So we have something that we're proud of, and we want you all to come share with us. Bring your children so they can have a good time in the snow.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
thank
Taylor.
you all.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Next we have up is public hearings. And when we get down to, we're gonna switch, E and C, I believe it is.
E and D.
E and D. So right now we're on the cemetery.
Chair Matt Rolston, County Attorney for the record. This is the revision of the proposed cemetery ordinance change that was discussed at the last meeting. I worked with Mr. Aiken to address concerns that the board expressed, and that you're here to decide to adopt this or revise it.
Before we move on, we do have someone from the public wish to speak. Ms. Perez? When you come up, would you please state your name for me, please?
Hello, my name is Trinidad Perez. I'm from LaBelle. My concern of the cemetery, I know that they say they don't want no solar lights, no flowers or anything. I'm not worried to take all that out because I already done it before. But the main thing, my daughter, before she passed away, she had done like little brick surrounding for her son that passed away, 8 days old. And I'm just asking, can it be, please stay there? I don't mind taking flowers, solar lights, and everything that y'all asking for, because that's the only memory that we have that she done before she passed away, 4 days after he died. And that's my main concern. And they told me that I had to remove these benches. When I told them, here are the people from the cemetery, they said, oh, okay, just bring a cement bench and everything be okay. Now they're telling me, remove that cement bench, you have to get a contractor to do this and to do that. That was never told to me when I put those benches out there. So I just want to know, we paid for these properties right there, my parents and my daughters and my grandson, and the benches are inside there where they're buried. It's not outside, it's not bothering nobody. So I'm just asking, if anything, I'll take the benches and everything, but please let us keep my grandson, last thing that his mom put out there before she passed away. And that was put in 2011. I don't know when these rules came out, but that was way before. I think the rules started at 2021, and that was done in 2011 when my grandson passed away. So I'm on asking, please, can we just leave that there? That's all I'm asking.
So I know they're not gonna allow you to leave it there. It's a soft spot for everyone. I have trees that's planted, been there. I think my grandma been gone for 35 years, and they have to come up. But what happens is, once they start allowing one person, then everybody's gonna ask the same thing that you ask. There's an appropriate way to keep those same benches. If you would get with either Alan or Mr. David, that they can show you the appropriate way to keep them. That way you can keep them. There's a way to keep them. You just got to do it the appropriate way. And if you work with them, they'll work with you.
Oh, I know them very good. They know me from all the time I've been there. They know me. I'm always there cleaning.
And I believe they'll work with you to keep, it might not be exactly the way you have it, but they'll work with you where you can keep it and keep your memories there.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Once again, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak at this time? Yours is for something else. Yours is for something else, unless you want to speak on this subject. Oh, no. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt option one, conduct a public hearing and adopt the attached ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Howard, second by Commissioner Iglesias. I need to individually vote, please. Do a roll call.
Commissioner Atkinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Iglesias,
Yes.
Commissioner Wills,
Yes.
Chairperson Byrd.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. Next, we have the school zone. And once
Chair,
again, this
Matt.
is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak, you can continue.
Matt Rollerson, County Attorney for the record, Chair. This is to clean up the school speed zone ordinance. There was some streets that were not included that are located within municipalities but are actually county roads. And it's just to clean that up so that we have cameras set up there. We haven't been enforcing that because it wasn't included in that ordinance. I didn't think there was fair notice. And that's the purpose of this. It's just to clean up, to add those locations.
I'll make a motion to approve option 1, conduct a public hearing and adopt the attached ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Howard. Once again, we need a roll call for public hearings.
Commissioner Atkinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Iglesias,
Yes.
Commissioner Wills,
Yes.
Chairperson Byrd.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands.
Chairwoman, if I
Yes.
may, we reached out to the company that administers these, and they are going to give us a credit for the cameras that have not been working to date. Now, you just approved it, so now they're going to get turned back on, but for the period of time that they were turned off, they are going to give us a credit for the cost of the cameras.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the CPA 22-0003.
Good evening. For the record, Ryan Alexander, Director of Planning and Community Development. The CPA that you have in front of you for CPA 22-0003 is to correct a staff error. The comp plan amendment was adopted a few months ago, but it wasn't transmitted properly to the state. So you guys have already looked through the CPA. We approved it. We adopted it. We just need to adopt it tonight to fix that staff error so we can transmit it to the state and clean that up and finish the CPA for Maury. Again, the Maury property is a large-scale map amendment. It's on US 27. It's for a multi-use property, which is in line with the existing uses that are in the area.
Make him. Go
This
ahead.
is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak at this time concerning that matter? Raymond.
I'll make a motion to approve option 1, adopt the large-scale map amendment to amend the future land use designation from agriculture to multi-use.
Need a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Howard. Individual vote, please.
Commissioner Atkinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Iglesias,
Yes.
Commissioner Wills,
Yes.
Chairperson Byrd.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. At this time, we're gonna do E, the CPA, and then we'll come back and do D.
For the record again, Ryan Alexander, Director of Planning and Community Development. The CPA that you have in front of you is to create a private resort recreation future land use category and to redesignate the 1,110 acre subject property from the public future land use category to the newly created private resort recreation future land use category. We have talked through this project. We worked through it at the transmittal hearing. I have staff here from the applicant that can talk through the project. I believe they have a presentation. But I would just like to start out by talking through the staff report and the recommendation by staff and how we arrived at that recommendation. Talk through that a little bit before I turn it over to the applicant to introduce the project and talk through the project. So as we've worked through the project originally came to staff as a CPA, and we couldn't really determine which future land use element it was going to fit into. It didn't really fit in with the rural, residential rural estates. It didn't fit in with multi-use. So in working with the applicant, we came up with a strategy to create a future land use category that allowed for the use on the property. We worked through and eventually we came up with the private resort recreation future land use category that would allow for the use. We restricted it to specifically on the subject property. The uses are listed in there in the actual comp plan amendment. And then in talking with the applicant in between the transmittal hearing and now, we also strengthened the proposed future land use category to state the residential uses may only be developed as services are made available. So we did address that for the services. As we've walked through the future land use element and walked through the follow-on PUD for the uses, the future land use element, it works for the use, but I have some concerns from a planning perspective that it's going to have a negative impact in allowing for urban sprawl. And so that's what I've been going back and forth on as we've worked through the conditions. And I will agree with the applicant that we've worked through the PUD, and I believe the conditions are in place to adequately take care of the project for phase one. Phase two is not contemplated yet, and I'm in a complete agreement that we're going to have to reevaluate the entire project at the PUD amendment phase to look at the project. What I worry about is that in passing a comprehensive plan amendment and creating a new future land use element is that we're creating something that doesn't fit in line with Florida statutes that guide how I'm supposed to create future land use elements, or our comprehensive plan and the guidance that it gives me in its goals for future land use elements. The first thing is our future land use element in goal 1. It states to ensure the development and maintenance of a functional and well-related pattern of land use types that provides for population growth, land development and redevelopment, and the appropriate distribution, location, densities, and intensities of uses consistent with adequate services and facilities and considered natural resources. So this is an old prison. It's being redeveloped for another use. I think that it was put in that location because it wasn't close to urban services. It was far removed from the surrounding community. It was in a place where a prison would be appropriate because it didn't have planned services. It wasn't in an area that was planned for residential development. So we're redeveloping the land use. We do have population growth in Hendry County. It's new houses. It works for population growth. But what I struggle with is the appropriate distribution, location, densities, and intensities of uses that are consistent with adequate services and facilities. And that's where I believe in talking with the applicant and working through things, there's still unanswered questions. There's still processes they have to go through with state agencies. And we have those in our conditions to coordinate with FDOT. They have to have their state agency approvals before they can work through that PUD. But I don't believe we're quite to that point where we can answer those questions to put a future land use element within our comprehensive plan to allow for this use in perpetuity. It's not a PUD where we can limit how long it's allowed. It's a future land use element, so it's in our future land use, it's in our comprehensive plan for the rest of the time as we have a comprehensive plan. So it's an ongoing use that I don't believe has been properly researched and put the time into it that needs to have an allowance like that within the county. It also talks about the appropriate distribution and location. And I went back to Florida statutes, and Florida statutes dictate how I'm supposed to look at future land use elements and the things I'm supposed to look at when I'm considering them for adoption into our comprehensive plan. There are a couple things that it contemplates as far as urban sprawl. And one of the points it makes is it says that the development, it should promote or allow or designate significant amounts of urban developments to occur in rural areas at substantial distances from existing urban areas. We're not using undeveloped lands. It's confusing, the language goes on. But what it's saying is that you're creating a project that's out in the middle of nowhere while you're not considering the land and the existing urban areas that are undeveloped. We have resources that we're working through in Western Hendry County with the city of LaBelle. We're working through a lot of projects in that area of the county. And as we work through them, we're working on making them available and suitable for development in existing urban areas. This is taking old prison and farmland in an area that does not have planned services or existing services in place. And it's asking us to move them out there for their specific use. And further on, it even states that the plan fails to maximize use of existing public facilities and services, and it fails to maximize the use of future public facilities and services. This project is limited in size and scope. It's not something that can turn into a neighborhood or an area that would maximize the use of the existing facilities. I understand they've addressed the future facilities in providing the department, but I don't believe that it's maximizing the use of those facilities and maximizing the county's resources in a way that's appropriate for the residents of Hendry County.
Ryan,
Yes.
Madam Chair, I thought they were going to provide the services they needed.
So through an MSBU, they are working on it, and they will be provided. What I fail, and the MSBU provides the services, but what I look at is we have the location provided, we have the sheriff's officer provided, but there's a lot of things that go along with that. And so that's what I struggle with, is maximizing that use and making sure that we're using it correctly and using those resources in a way that takes care of the residents of Hendry County.
So to be clear, he's going to provide a location for law enforcement and pay for the law enforcement that's going to be there. Is that correct? That's the way I understand it.
Would that be others?
Yes, that's what,
Okay. Okay.
We can work through that through the MSBU, absolutely. And that is one of the provisions within the MSBU. And then it goes down to promotes the efficient and cost-effective provision or extension of public infrastructure and services. And I think that reiterates what we were stating a second ago. It's not the efficient, cost-effective provision or extension of public infrastructure and services. So working through the CPA, I believe that this is encouraging urban sprawl. I believe that allowing this would definitely have urban sprawl into an area that's not ready for it. It also talks about considering natural resources. This isn't a primary panther area, and I understand that there are requirements they have to meet. But adding a residential development, adding more cars on the road for traffic mortality for panthers, and having some of those natural features we have out there in that beautiful land that we have in southern Hendry County, and adding more residential development to it. I think we just need to step back and consider it before we pass a future land use element that allows it. And I will turn it over to the applicant now.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Before you go, Ryan, and I just want to make sure that we come back to the CPA and the conditions that the state agencies sent back. There's some significant things, I think, in the responses back on the CPA that we need to have a discussion about tonight. And I want to make sure that we are able to come back to that.
Sir.
Anyone else?
The applicant has their presentation.
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Kate English. I'm here on behalf of South Florida Ops. And before we begin our presentation, I want to clarify something because I was a little surprised with the presentation from Mr. Alexander. My understanding coming into this meeting based on the staff reports that are in the file, that the only thing that we did not agree on between the county and the applicant were the 350 residential units. Is that correct? Or that's the only issue that you were addressing with your previous comments?
The urban sprawl would be in reference to the residential. The urban sprawl would be in reference to the residential component of the development.
Thank you. So the only thing we're really at a disagreement about at this point between staff and the applicant is the 350 residential units. And I think maybe it's helpful at this point to do a couple of things to talk about what's important with a comprehensive plan and what it's supposed to do, and the difference between comprehensive planning and zoning. And I'm just going to set the table and then we'll talk about this project, but I think it's important to have this conversation to kind of start with. Your comprehensive planning horizon with your existing comprehensive plan is 2040. It's not 3 years from now. It's not 5 years from now. It's not 6 years from now. It's a 15-year time frame. And when I was thinking about that, when I was looking at the concerns that the county staff had expressed on the 350, that it was too soon, maybe not in the right place, and a lot of other things, I thought about how much Hendry County's changed in 15 years. If we go back to 2010, it's a very different county, right? Hendry County had more citrus trees than any county in the state of Florida. They produced more citrus in 2010 than the entire state of Florida produced in the last citrus season. We had a citrus processing facility, U.S. Sugar, that was taking citrus from all over the state of Florida and selling juice. We had grove that was left, the Berry Citrus Grove in LaBelle, that still had grove on it. That's now the C-43 reservoir, 8,000 acres of a water management system. We had the Boma Grove that at the time was on the Caloosahatchee River. That's now a nitrogen treatment facility to benefit the Caloosahatchee River. There are so many things that have changed in the county since 2010, and no way for us to tell that in 2020 we were going to get a virus that was going to shut down a bunch of stuff and convince the entire United States population that they want to live in Florida. I mean, it's been a tremendous number of changes, which our comprehensive plan could not possibly have taken into consideration because there was no way to know that we were going to get a disease that was going to wipe out the citrus industry, that we were going to have state and federal programs that bought 25% of Hendry County and damaged 26% of your property taxes. There was no way for the county to know that or plan for that. There is a way with this to think about it and to plan for it. This is a piece of property that was developed back, it was purchased in the 1970s and developed and used as a prison for decades. It had, at its peak, had over 1,100 prisoners in it. It had more than 240 people who worked there. They had residential housing on the site. That's one of the reasons that the utilities are there. I understand that Ryan has a concern, but the fact of the matter is that the Department of Commerce, who's responsible for telling us if we're engaging in urban sprawl, didn't say that. They thought it was an appropriate redevelopment of a developed space. And as Ryan correctly pointed out, this applicant has said, I will make sure I will provide everything that needs to happen here. And in our last conversation, when you all decided to transmit the application with the 350 residential units, the thing that I heard from each and every one of you was the concern for public safety. It was absolutely a key concern for every single commissioner, and you made it clear that putting people in danger wasn't appropriate. The applicant heard that. We have an interim station that will go in before the golf course can be used. And in the event that at some point we come back and get it rezoned for the 350 units, we have to put in a full-blown brand-new station and staff it. That's one of the reasons we have the financial sureties that we're, the MSBU particularly, and that's not for construction. That's for operation once all these things are built. The developer's got to pay for all of it. That does not land on Hendry County. That's not a Hendry County service. It's not an impact. It's not a negative impact to resources that need to be used by other residents of Hendry County. They understand that they're going into a property that was heavily developed, that's going to need to be redeveloped. I think the important thing from the planning standpoint is this is an incredible reduction in the potential for density and intensity on this property. This 1,100 acres could be a recycling center with the proper zoning, could be a landfill with the proper zoning. Your planning task is, what do you want the future of Hendry County to look like? Hendry County has gotten kind of burdened with things that other counties need to develop. We're providing their water supply. We're cleaning up their water. We're handling their garbage. We're doing all of the things that those counties don't want in their county. So I don't think a landfill is a good answer for Hendry County on this property, but that's what's available with this without the comprehensive plan amendment. The comprehensive plan amendment is not piecemeal. You absolutely have the right to deny zoning, even where the comprehensive plan may allow it, if you do not believe that it meets the other requirements of your comprehensive plan. You absolutely have that right. We have no vested rights that arise with the 350 units that are in this comprehensive plan. None. We don't. We don't have the right to claim that. We don't have the right to claim that you have deprived us of that. We would have to prove to you at a level that you are comfortable with and that your staff is comfortable with that we are going to provide those things. So with that kind of set as the table, the comprehensive plan is the plan. What do you want this to be in 2040? I don't want it to be a landfill. I will tell you the man who currently owns it doesn't want it to be a landfill. But I think let's walk through some of the things that Ryan's raised tonight. But again, look at this through the lens that the only thing that we have a disagreement about is whether the comprehensive plan amendment that's been presented to you should include 350 units. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alexis Crespo, who's our planner, and we'll go from there.
So before you go, let me.
Yes, sir.
May I ask some questions, Madam Chair? So I want to be clear. Fire is to be provided by the developer.
Yes.
The facility and the manpower
Yes, we have
at
to pay
no expense to the constituents of Hendry County.
unless you expect us to provide services to other constituents in that area.
Okay?
But absolutely, we have to build it, we have to staff it, and we have to put the trucks and the equipment in it.
Same question for EMS.
Yes, sir.
Okay? No expense to constituents of Hendry County.
Well, to the extent that it's a constituent who lives in this project, yes, but
And law enforcement.
yes, sir, same thing. We understand, and having served as the county attorney for Hendry County once upon a time, we collect less money now in ad valorem taxes than you did when I was the county attorney 20 years ago.
It's about to go away, or homestead.
I really shouldn't talk about that in public. But we understand the limitations of the county. There is no expectation here. The goal here for this project is that we do not require the county resources in order to develop this project and operate this project over time. This is not intended to be a burden on the county. This is not a project that's going to trigger that.
Something you said.
Yes, ma'am?
You said that you would you would do the 300 houses, resident houses first, and then.
No, ma'am.
Okay,
No, ma'am.
correct me then.
Okay. What you have in front of you tonight is the comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan includes the entire project we are ever going to want to build on those 1,100 acres.
Okay.
We brought the whole thing to the county to review at one time. Tonight, in front of you, the only thing that you have in front of you that vests rights to this property related to that comprehensive plan is the first phase PUD, which is only for the golf course and the resort portion. It does require that we build the interim station and have that interim station prepared, staffed, and stocked prior to the time that we operate the golf
I
course.
understood that, but I just thought, I heard you say that you would do the homes first.
No,
and
ma'am.
then I just
I'm
wanted to make
sorry
sure
if I
No, that's
misspoke. I
fine. Okay.
apologize.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, so you're saying the facility in place before the golf course opens, so that's fire, EMS, and sheriff,
Yes, sir.
all three?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
While I'd like, before we leave the transmittal, just go back to it. When it went out, I'm thinking, prepare myself, okay, if it comes back with no comment, I'm thinking one way. And it came back with comment from 4 different agencies that had concerns or things that probably need to be mitigated. And I'm curious, after you receiving the transmittal, what the plan or thought process is for addressing them.
Well, you all are sort of our first stop in terms of the comprehensive plan. And if ultimately your answer to this is no, then we know kind of where we are. One of the roles of the state agencies, and Governor Scott actually did this during his tenure, it used to be that when you transmitted a comprehensive plan amendment to the state of Florida, there was a department, it's called the Department of Community Affairs, and they literally could stop you in your tracks and simply say, no, we're not going to authorize the county to approve this. And Governor Scott looked at that and he said, you know what? I think that local land use should be the responsibility of the people who stand for elections in those counties and cities. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the state agencies in the role of being advisors, not in the role of closing things off. With South Florida Water Management District, we absolutely have to go through the permitting process with them, and it will be extensive. Because even though the property currently has South Florida permits for both environmental resource, surface water management, and water use, we've got to go through that, and we've got to go through it with the new rules, which provide much more. This was permitted originally in the 1970s. It doesn't have surface water management, doesn't have any of those things. With FDOT, those are all comments that require us to consult with FDOT when we're going through the rezoning process with the 350 homes, which isn't on your table tonight and is not probably going to be on your table for years. The Department of Commerce, who looks at things like urban sprawl, didn't have a comment about that. Is there another comment that you had a concern?
Well,
Have I skipped something?
FWC and FDP both had comments, and
Well,
so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
FWC, we have to go through that process and coordinate between the between South Florida Water Management District and FWC, because an ERP permit requires that you protect listed species. We also have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers. We may also be with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service because we're not very far from the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge. So while FWC has comments, those are comments that can be addressed in permitting processes we have to go through. Hendry County has historically not involved itself in that because y'all don't really have enough staff to deal with all the biological issues, but we certainly have to go through FWC, the South Florida Water Management District. We also have to go through the Department of Historical Resources, all just for an ERP. We also have to go through the Army Corps of Engineers, and we have to go through the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, and if they find we're going to have an impact, they're going to require that we mitigate for that, and they will prepare a biological opinion that tells us exactly what we have to do to protect the species that are on the site. FWC is commenting in an advisory capacity to let us know that we have those issues, but ultimately they will push that to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and so will the South Florida Water Management District and the Army Corps of Engineers, because they're the only ones who can tell us whether or not we're complying with the Endangered Species Act.
Okay.
Is there another?
Nope, thank you.
Any comment?
Alexis?
Plugged in here, sorry about that. Oh, just a delayed reaction, sorry. Good evening, Alexis Crespo. I'm Vice President of Planning with RVI. I'm happy to be before you this evening. I don't want to be too redundant with some of the comments and questions that were just answered by the board, but I want to run through the presentation here. Our team is available. The full gamut of folks that prepared this application are here if you have any questions. As was described, we're here tonight to request your approval to adopt the, ooh,
Does somebody have a remote and they're turning it on and off? I mean, what's,
maybe it was my paper.
seems like there's a short,
It's slightly distracting, I would imagine.
but it's both of them, yes.
Try to plug this directly into the computer. Good. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thanks. Can I put this here? Right, so we're here tonight asking your approval to adopt the comprehensive plan amendment that would apply to the entire 1,100 acres. This is a site-specific future land use map amendment. This is specifically drives at that idea of sprawl. This is not intended to open this area up for this type of use. It's only applicable to this property. It's the specific uses in our PUD. This would not be an appropriate category for others to use unless this entire area was developed with a bunch of private golf course projects, which there's only so much market for these very high-end golf communities. So we tailored it to match our PUD. This is not a tool for others to use in this area of the county. So the comp plan would apply to the entirety of the property. It allocates the golf course holes and clubhouse facilities and golf casitas for short-term use by the golfers on the Phase 1 portion. It also allows for Phase 2, 350 single-family dwelling units to come back through a PUD process, full public hearing, review and analysis based on infrastructure at that time, changing conditions as Kate described in detail. All those merits will be reviewed when the Phase 2 PUD comes in. So no single-family homes can be developed on this site until a future rezoning is approved by this board. Furthering that is our proposed master concept plan. You'll note that the bulk of the property, the west side of the property is hatched. That is phase 2. So all of that area, nothing can occur on that until we, again, go back through the full public hearing process, staff review, local planning agency, and back before the board. The only thing that can occur on those hatched areas is the redevelopment of private on-site water and sewer. Another key item relating to sprawl, what the statute says is when you're extending services and infrastructure, namely roadways, water, and sewer, and you're running them 10 miles out, that is an indicator of urban sprawl. We are not running lines from Collier County or City of LaBelle certainly is very far away. These are private on-site utilities sized for our project. These are not sized for outside users. We're not introducing centralized utilities to this area of the county. This is going to serve this project only, and that infrastructure has existed to serve the prison for a good amount of time. Since our last hearing, the other thing that's going to occur on phase 2 is that fire EMS sheriff substation, where we will have a phase 1 facility that can serve the golf course, which is obviously a lower intensity use. Over time, through a phase 2 PUD, there is a condition that we will have to enlarge that facility to have obviously more space for those services to be on site to serve the population at that time.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
how do we, when they staff the fire department, EMS, if it were to pass, and law enforcement, who dictates how many personnel they have to have? Is Amy here? Hey, Amy. I assume that's our decision, not their decision on how to staff it.
I think it would be a collaboration of staff and the client to discuss the demand and the need and, you know, the folks at that time to be able to agree
And that,
within reason.
that language
that's what it
needs to
would
be set in stone in what you're going to write up, correct?
Well, those discussions will be about the funding mechanism. So what do the funds need to be to allocate the resources needed for these services? So that's what the BTU would be, to establish a millage and an assessment that would cover those costs and the administrative costs of collecting them.
Okay.
Madam Chair, before you leave, the staffing of the emergency services also is going to have in consideration, because you're going phase 1 with the casitas, 100 of them. So that's inclusive of not just the golf course and pro shop or the other services that you're going to offer. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Our services for phase 1 will cover that, and that's a maximum that we're establishing. The intent is to do a much lesser number of these golf casitas, but yes, we would have to provide the services infrastructure for all of it, the golf clubhouse, the golf course holes, and the casitas.
Do you know what the occupancy of the casitas are going to be?
They can range in size. We've done one of these private golf course communities up in the Manatee County area, and so they range in size from 2 to 4 bedrooms within the units, so they can vary. And so phase 1, you're familiar with the plan from our last hearing. That will be the 18 holes of golf course laid out specifically to avoid wetland impacts. We've got perimeter buffers around the entirety of that area to provide a good buffer from surrounding agricultural lands. We've internally located the golf clubhouse as well as the casita areas, and our utility infrastructure will be have to at least 100 feet into the property to mitigate any views of that. We will also be improving Wainwright Road. There's conditions in the PUD to ensure that road is brought up to county standards to provide adequate access to the site. We've touched on the MSTBU, so we've drafted this document. It must be approved within 90 days of zoning approval. This is how we are going to fund the private on-site infrastructure and services to serve the project. So this will establish a mechanism for the developer to pay Hendry County, who can then pay Collier County if they have to provide service to the site at any point in time. This is a long-term funding mechanism, so this will run with the land and continue to collect revenue over years as the project continues. This addresses sheriff, fire, EMS. In addition to that, we are providing the condition for on-site facilities in the interim, but this is also the mechanism to, again, collect funds for staffing and all of the items needed. And this will ensure that the developer incurs all costs, not the county, not Collier County, not Hendry County, but the developer of the property. And there is a time frame in which this must be established, and we would not be able to get a site development permit if this MSTBU did not come before you and get approved. So there is a hard stop where this cannot move forward if you're not comfortable with this document. The changes we've made since we saw you in September include a couple of more safeguards to address concerns raised by staff. That includes additional language that residential uses may only be developed as services are made available. So this is just further insurance built into the comp plan that if we come back with phase 2 for those residential units too soon when you are not comfortable that services are available, you can point to a clear policy in addition to others throughout the plan. This is going to give you the tool to say it's premature, we cannot approve phase 2. So this is was something we discussed with staff and added to the language. Similarly, in the PUD, we made a change based on the discussion at the transmittal hearing. This is the phasing of the fire EMS substation. So this just states that it must be provided within the existing fire station structure on site. At the first stage, it will include 1 bay with EMS, sheriff, administration, sleeping. I think we need a little tweaking with that language to make sure fire carries through the language, but you can see provisions for phase 1, and then at time of phase 2, it must be at least 8,000 square feet with 3 bays for fire, EMS, and sheriff. And you can see that this is tied to first certificate of occupancy for each phase. So no one can be living on the site, being on the site without these facilities in place.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Crespo, you say 1 bay. Is that 1 bay for fire, 1 bay for EMS, and 1 bay for sheriff, or you saying 1 bay for all 3?
I believe the intent is 1 bay for all 3.
That's really not adequate. Would you think that 1 bay for all 3 is adequate? You gotta put an ambulance, a fire truck, and
It says
sheriff
3
department cars in
bays.
there?
It's 3 bays.
That's what I'm asking. It says 1,
It started out
Oh,
with 1
phase
bay.
one.
it says
It
1 bay
starts out-
minimum, EMS,
With-
sheriff, so.
With phase 1, the intent here is that we're going to provide adequate services for what is in, because remember, this has to come back for a site development plan.
I understand, but you have 100 casitas and a golf course and a pro shop, right?
Hold on. If we come in with the clubhouse, the pro shop, and 20 casitas, I think that's the conversation that we need to have with the emergency services providers, who will tell us what they want for a level of service in that space. If we come in with 100, it's the same thing. Regardless of that language, I think, if you want to use level of service language there, I think we can work through that. I think ultimately the issue is really to make sure that fire, EMS, and the sheriff's office are comfortable with the facility that they have for the population that they're dealing with.
And you're right, level of service will come into play. Once we get down to it, the fine print, and since we're discussing this, I think it is important to know that this is what we're looking at. With that many things, if you got 1 fire truck, you got 3 firemen, 2 firemen, 1, I mean, just,
Would you be more comfortable with language that said on the existing on-site fire station, and that's a minimum, that isn't a cap,
that's the reason I'm asking.
that is not the cap. So clearly, if the level of service and for the fire, if the fire chief tells us, I need to have more than this, then
Then you're gonna provide it.
we're gonna have to provide it,
Good enough.
because otherwise we can't get the site development
That's
plan.
all I wanna know. I just wanna make sure that whatever comes into there, that we're all on the same page. If it comes in, say, hey, we need 2 fire, 2 EMS, and 5
And
deputies.
frankly, blame me for that, because I was trying to set the floor, not the ceiling.
Well, that's okay. I like to look at all of it.
Thank you.
All right, so to kind of summarize holistically how we're addressing the infrastructure and service items raised, water and sewer, this is typically your biggest problem or an item when you talk about infrastructure. This is part of the reason it's difficult to develop in Hendry County. This is a site with existing water and sewer. Yes, it's antiquated and we will redevelop it, but this will be provided on site for this project and for this project only, fully funded by the developer. So that's a huge piece of infrastructure just checked off the list automatically through on-site facilities. Fire, sheriff, EMS, we've talked about the condition for the on-site facility for phase 1 and then sized appropriately for phase 2, as well as the MSTBU to fund that facility and staffing.
May I ask a question? So early on, we were talking about agreements with Collier County, but now through additional discussions that you've had with the planning department, you're agreeing to put the service, the facility, and pay for the service. So you have via Collier County interlocal agreement, so with Hendry County, because you're going to be paying for it through MSTU, decided to fulfill that on ourselves. Is that an issue for the applicant?
Just being involved in those discussions, I think I think the county needs an interlocal with Collier because Collier is currently kind of helping serve that area in certain instances without any kind of. So I think just globally, that agreement is something being discussed that's necessary for this general area. I think to the extent when we get to the MSTBU, it may be appropriate to have that as a stopgap. If there's something significant that occurs and Collier does need to come service it, we would want it in place where we pay you to pay them. So I think there's still a place where it's appropriate to reference that interlocal, but would defer to the county attorney. And
Agreed. I just as, can we decide, if we were to decide we want to put our sheriff, our EMS, and our fire folks, Hendry County out there, I just want to make sure that's a possibility. That it's not, you're not saying via Collier County only.
I would assume that the people serving that station are Hendry County.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Can we have first right of refusal?
Yeah, that's all I just see via Collier County interlocal agreement funded by an MSTBU. I just want to make sure that includes Hendry County as well.
No, that's the goal. The goal of this
Okay.
is not to be exclusive. The goal of this is to make it revenue neutral to the county. If you all, for example, if you adopted fire, with services, or decided you needed to expand the services in that area for other projects, we absolutely
sure.
be more than happy to cooperate with the county.
Okay, thank you.
And the structure of the MSBTU is such that the county controls that, what we're doing down there. It may be that for a time we can contract for some services because that's operationally what we need to do. But if any time we're prepared to take over those services, it's at our discretion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reference the additional condition we've created with staff over the last month. Roads, we have Yuri Baikau who did the traffic study here. We will not adversely impact the surrounding roadway network. FDOT in their comment letter agreed with that. They reviewed the application. They said this amendment will not adversely impact the surrounding roadway network based on not only the golf course, but also phase 2 of the 350 units. And we will upgrade Wainwright Road to county standards. Condition 19 of our PUD also goes a step further and says we have to coordinate with Collier County. It's understood that some of our trips are going to be going straight into Collier and not going up through Hendry. And so we've actually already conducted a meeting with Mike Sawyer, who is their transportation planner, let him know about this amendment proceeding, which when FDOT did cite that there was a lack of intergovernmental coordination, and I think they were working in a vacuum and not aware of the steps we had taken with Commissioner McDaniel, as well as Collier County staff, to let them know of the project, let them know we would be coming to see them at the time of site development permit to analyze those impacts to their roadway. FDOT did recommend that we add coordination with Collier County and FDOT at the time of site development permit, and we think that is a good change that should be added to the condition, and have no objection to that. And then lastly, for school, there's no residential units proposed in phase 1. The golf casitas are basically kind of hotel rooms, short-term lodging. So we will have to address school at the time of phase 2 when we come in for single-family homes, but we are not asking for vested right for those single-family homes this evening. And then lastly, in terms of hospital services, and I'm going to show a slide in a moment of NCH is planning a hospital at Ave Maria, which is within 10 miles or so of the site, with 150 beds. So services are coming into East Collier County because of all the growth and development happening in their rural lands. And so kind of tying back to that, this is a graphic of what's occurring in eastern Collier County. This is Collier County is wealthy, and they've figured out a way to even capitalize upon their rural lands in the eastern part of the county near Hendry. As you can see, our property is in the pink color. Within 5 miles, it just went to the board yesterday. Horse Trails Village, this is 3,200 homes, about 170,000 square feet of commercial, 32,000 square feet of civic uses. Our project is very similar, I think, in scope to the Collier Rod and Gun Club. It's a private high-end recreational use. They've got a small number of homes for basically members to purchase over time, as well as a small amount of commercial. So that's within 5 miles of us. These are uses in the area. And then as you move further to the 10, 15-mile mark, this is where you've got several new towns that are going to have 20,000 people at build-out. You've got Ave Maria, Hyde Park, town of Big Cypress, all under development in this area. And so we felt when we brought forward this golf course use with some supportive residential in the long-term planning horizon, this was very commensurate with what we're seeing in Collier County and is providing that tax base and that type of development to Hendry's rural lands as Collier County has capitalized upon. State agency review occurred following our transmittal. We did receive back, as of today, 5 comment letters. Not all agencies comment anymore. As Kate said, back in the time of the Department of Community Affairs, they could object, they could make recommendations, they could do a lot of things at the state level. Now they can just provide comments. The authority is fully delegated to the local government to make the decisions on comprehensive planning, but they are allowed to comment. The Water Management District said, you're gonna need water permits, and please think of using reuse water for your irrigation. Since it's a golf course, it's gonna be a large water user. Try to use reuse over time, which we can do through our lake systems. Department of Transportation said there will be no significant adverse impacts to the roadways. They did cite their concern about lack of infrastructure in the area, lack of intergovernmental coordination. I can only assume they did not review the depth of materials here where we address intergovernmental coordination, have done that, address infrastructure, as I've noted in my previous slides. The Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council, as well as the Department of Commerce, which I would say these are the planning entities that are the keepers of Florida statutes, and comment on, is this amendment consistent with statute related to sprawl and land use? That is their mission through the statutes. And neither had any comments and neither raised any concerns about urban sprawl through their comment letters that were received. I'm going to ask Yuri to come up and make a few brief statements on the transportation.
Madam Chair, while he's coming up, do you have a slide there that shows what the anticipated tax? Can you show that, please?
Sure. And this was prepared by Vika O'Grady. She did present this at our transmittal hearing, but and this is based on a 200-member club. So that's what Michael is projecting in terms of membership. Again, this is a small private club. It's not open to the public, a relatively small number of members. And these are the projected revenues to Hendry County based on that membership and the projected jobs to serve the clubhouse and golf course. At build out, it would be about 300 jobs created, 11 million in tax revenue over a decade, and reaching about 630,000 by year 10.
So, Madam Chair, so you're saying that golf course, 100 casitas and 350 homes, you anticipate that the taxes will be 633,000? Is that what you're anticipating?
Per year, yes.
Madam Chair, on the casitas, what's the duration of stay for those? Do you know that?
We have a limitation that it cannot be more than 180 days, but typically these are used for a weekend to a week would be the typical duration. I don't know if Michael has any commentary on that.
So the, Madam Chair, sorry, the casitas, are they rented as a hotel room? Or are they individually owned like condos where they're going to Airbnb them? How are you?
They're part of the golf club. They're accommodations.
Can you please?
They're accommodations that are
Name,
organized.
please.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
That's all right.
Yeah, Michael Solomon, sorry.
Thank you.
They're 100% organized and owned by the golf club. They can't be put on into the market like an Airbnb. The booking for them is controlled by the golf club. Generally, it's for the golfers that are going to be staying on site, so it never leaves our control. They're not being sold off as investments where someone can try to maximize revenue. This is club-owned property.
But are they a daily rent?
Yeah, I mean,
Transient? So what I'm trying to get to, is there a tourism tax element that we're going to be able to claim?
I believe so. Yeah.
I don't want to, I believe so. I want the answer.
Remember how we modeled it? I think, like I said.
Sorry to ask you that.
Yeah, no, I think we modeled a tourism tax. I think it's in that large report that Vika O'Grady had submitted, and we can look that up. But I believe we are paying a tourism tax.
Okay, Ryan, you look into that, all right? That's another 3% revenue for the county.
Yes, sir.
Within their, Ryan Alexander, for the record, then their economic, it went sideways.
So technically, if you're charging a rent and it's transient and they're not here for 6 months and 1 day, their tourism tax should be applied towards the use of that.
And then I turned it and it,
I would say it should, under
Does
a
have
normal
a tourism
circumstance,
tax, yeah.
but depending on how they structure their membership and the you know, the benefit of that, you know, I don't,
Right, that was my concern, is that
Yeah.
if the club membership, I'll use an example, I was at Babcock Ranch this past week talking to the owners, and he had talked about their golf course is $250,000 to join the club, but if you're gonna add an amenity and say you have the use of X amount of days with the casitas, then you're technically not charging them, so
Right.
that would offset. So I would just like to know what that
so
looks
at
like.
full capacity, the county would receive approximately $145,500 annually in bed taxes,
Stayed up there anyway.
assuming that the Hendry County imposes 3% for tourism development.
Which is unrelated to the taxes of $633,000. Okay.
Right. The average daily rate would be $500 for the room. The resort expects 9,700 bed nights at capacity, which would be $145,500 annually.
Thank you.
It's up there, Raymond.
Good evening. For the record, Yuri Baika with TR Transportation Consultants. We prepared a traffic impact statement for this application. I want to emphasize it looked at the entire build out, not just phase 1 or phase 2, but entire build out, which included the golf course, the residential, the golf casitas, all of that. As part of our traffic analysis, we analyzed the surrounding roadway network for their capacity, and the results of our capacity analysis, or in other words, level of service analysis, indicates that this proposed amendment request will not cause any roadways to operate below the adopted level of service standards. More specifically, the nearby roadways, Oil Well Road and County Line Road, which are both county-maintained roadways, were shown to operate acceptable level of service D or better in the future build-out traffic conditions. And as we previously emphasized many times, FDOT has reviewed this application, and they clearly mentioned that the proposed amendment has no significant adverse impact to transportation resources. Now, again, this doesn't mean this is the only traffic analysis we will do for this project. We still have to go through this process, through rezoning process, and then ultimately through STP process. And at that time, we will be required to prepare a very detailed traffic analysis that will look at operational analysis, intersection analysis, turn lanes, if there are any turn lanes will be required for a project, and as well as level of service analysis. And as we mentioned many times, that traffic study will not only be reviewed by your staff, but it will also be coordinated with Collier County and FDOT. So all the agency will be taking a look at that. And the last thing I kind of want to mention is that the proposed golf course and the transient units are very low, generally relatively low peak hour traffic generating uses. And the main intent of this project, specifically with phase 1, is it's being designed to generate very minimal amount of external trips on the surrounding roadway network. So that's conducts my presentation. Do you have any questions regarding traffic?
Any
Thank you.
comments?
I'm good.
And that really, because we got to the economic benefits, that really concludes our presentation. We believe this is a great project for Hendry County. We think this is structured through the PUD conditions, through phasing it, through the MSTBU, through the on-site fire EMS sheriff, that this will be self-contained. This is not extending these services out past our boundaries. It's containing them on-site and having us pay for them. This is a very environmentally sensitive use. You saw the golf course, roughly half the site is going to be golf course or preserve areas to enhance that, and it will be ecologically friendly and certainly an improvement over the existing conditions of this site. So we'll have a great positive fiscal impact, and we've worked diligently with your staff to address the sprawl concerns. Your state land planning agency has said there's no sprawl concerns in their review of this application, and we believe through working with the county, through the MSTBU, through the Phase 2 PUD when the time is right, that we can fully resolve any concerns about that, and the safeguards are in place to protect Hendry County through this proposal. And we're happy to answer any questions and respectfully request your approval.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could you refresh my memory on the airstrip? Is there any plans to go beyond the I think half-mile grass strip that's there?
We removed that from, we had it shown at one point in time and then elected to remove that as being, it will stay where it is located but cannot be expanded without future amendments to the PUD.
Okay, thank you.
This, yes.
In first phase, there's only gonna be 18 holes, correct? And the rest will be in phase 2.
Correct.
Okay.
Just, and for clarification, Ryan, just for my benefit, we were talking about 54 holes, but that's phase 2, not phase 1.
36 in phase.
phase 2, 18.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak concerning this matter? Okay. Do I need a motion?
I'll make a motion for option 2, approve CPA 24-001 with a residential element.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Atkinson. I need individual votes on this, please.
Commissioner Atkinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Iglesias,
Yes.
Commissioner Wills,
Yes.
Chairperson Byrd.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. We're now going to RZ 22. That's D.
Presentation for the reason. Ryan Alexander, Director of Planning and Community Development. I'm just going to introduce the project rezone. For the rezone portions, this is for the Phase 1 portion of the rezone. For the project, I'll let Alexis talk through the Phase 1 allowances, and I can get back up and talk through conditions or any other concerns that the board has. I know we had talked earlier about some conditions for lighting that I had, and there were a couple other things we had talked about before, but I want them to talk through the proposal first.
Again, Alexis Crespo for the record. We really did kind of a joint presentation of both applications. So what you have before you is our master concept plan showing the layout of Phase 1. Again, Phase 2 is going to require a full PUD amendment through the public hearing process. So for Phase 1, we are going to extend Wainwright Road to provide access to the site. That will maintain any access rights by others that currently have legal access to Wainwright. And then within the site, you can just see a lot of green space where we'll have our golf course routings, open space surrounding that, again, substantial setbacks and buffering along the perimeters of the project. The golf clubhouse is shown in the orange. We have a maximum square footage of 150,000 square foot for all of the golf course type buildings, so ancillary structures along the golf course area as well. And then the casita area is shown in the red. With lake areas, and then the known wetlands are in those white hatched areas that we are trying to avoid and have planned around largely in order to incorporate that into the golf course over time. And we do have a number of conditions we've worked out with staff to address, again, the infrastructure items we've noted this evening, limit the uses in a way that's appropriate, phase out the military training that's going on the site right now. That has to cease as we work into the golf course uses. And then again, that phase 1 fire EMS sheriff substation that was discussed earlier.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ryan?
All right, from our CPA discussion, I wanted to talk through a couple of the conditions that we have within the PUD. PUD allowances, we had talked through that. We have the limit to 100 transient lodging units. That'll be developed in phase 1. The 18-hole golf course, the rest of the holes will come in phase 2. And then the existing heavy recreational use will be phased out. You asked about the airstrip earlier. It is listed as an accessory use as a heli stop and heliport landing pad. So that is included in there. And then as we work through the conditions, so the conditions, as Alexis stated, must be in general compliance with the site plan that was provided. So any changes they do, like the airstrip, or if they move things around, that would have to come back to the board for a PUD amendment if they restructure the entirety of the project. Access for Wainwright Road has been preserved through conditions that we have for all the landowners that use it. And then we also have coordination with Collier County through that, which I wanted to talk through. So, Matt, when it comes to the MSTBU, does that need to be signed by Collier County as well if it's using Collier County
No.
resource? Okay. All right, so that language is good in there. The access is maintained. The maximum building height is 35 feet, which is consistent across the board with our developments. We are allowing them to develop during phase 1. They can work on the public safety facility that's existing in phase 2. That way they can get ahead of it because it is a requirement for phase 2. And then also they have to have the existing facilities before they can get the CO for phase 1. And that was the original 1 bay EMS, fire, and I'll add fire into there. That was a good catch, and the sheriff. One thing that I had brought up earlier when Commissioner Iglesias had some questions. So there will be equipment needs for the fire, EMS, and sheriff stations. Those aren't contemplated in the conditions, but those will be covered. The project will generate, based on their economic impact, the project will generate $2.4 million in impact fees that we could use towards the additional equipment that would be required for the project. That's just one avenue there, or we could strengthen the condition.
So
but it is
strengthen
built
the
in there.
conditions, because the question I asked was, will there be any expense to the taxpayers of Hendry County? And that response was no. So to me, that's law enforcement, that's a facility, that's anything needed. I mean, it's turnkey.
With equipment, vehicles, everything.
Absolutely. Specifically why I asked that question.
Absolutely.
All right, we will work through that condition because I do want to make sure that is appropriately addressing the concerns. I believe the MSTBU condition addresses it, but I'll need to read through it, and we'll get with Matt and we'll talk through that to make sure those services are provided. The special exception and the variance, they are phasing out as we move through the development process. We're limited to the schedule of uses that we listed. There is a buffer that's going around the property that's listed in the conditions, as well as meeting 60% open space requirement. As we have mentioned repeatedly now, when they come in for the PUD and for the site development plan, they have to have a formal protected species survey. That's one of the requirements. They also have to work with all the other outside agencies. I won't reiterate what Kate said, but all those will be taken into consideration as we work through the site development plan process, and those are built into the conditions that we have within the project. We also, in looking at the FWC comments, the containers are bear-proof for trash storage. There are a couple other things that are built into there for Panther-friendly allowances, as well as they'll be required to submit a photometric plan for all the outdoor lighting to address any lighting on the property. The hours of operation do prohibit the golf course use after sunset, in making sure that we're not having it lit up extra overnight. The rest of the conditions talk through working with outside agencies. And then the final condition that we added, a certificate of occupancy or its functional equivalent shall not be issued until the county has received executed agreements or contracts ensuring the provision of fire, EMS, and sheriff services. So that's that final condition. We worked through the facilities and the provision of facilities, but those contracts and the executed agreements must be in place prior to the CO for phase one.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Ryan, going back to the emergency services conditions, can you add language in there? Could we add language to require compliance with NFPA standards for the station and the equipment and the first responders?
And can you make sure the building's got fire sprinklers so we can use it as a fire department?
Yes, that's part of that condition.
Okay. Amy, what is the standards for EMS? There we go. And then I'll get with the sheriff department to find out what their standards of service are. All right. Did you have any comments for the recommended conditions? Well, yeah.
Just so you guys know, we're a lot easier than the Corps is going to be in South Florida Water Management.
All right, the board have any other questions?
Any other questions?
No.
No, so you might as well stay there. Because we at RZ 25.
But we got to vote on this one, right?
I need a motion first, and then you can stay there.
I'll make a motion to approve option one, approve the petition to rezone the property with the conditions recommended by staff.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Howell. I need individual votes, please.
Commissioner Atkinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Iglesias,
Yes.
Commissioner Wills,
Yes.
Chairperson Byrd.
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. We had RZ 24.
It was listed twice.
It was listed
Before it was,
twice.
yes.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
so thank you. So we now at staff reports. Thank you all for y'all patience. Y'all been here a minute. So we have staff report,
Madam
Lee
Chair.
Shane.
Correspondence.
For the record, Shane Parker, Public Works Director. This item I have before you is,
Don't do that if it's FR.
there's a owner of G Road Grove. They're seeking conceptual approval for an inflow pump station. No problem. For a proposed stormwater infiltration project. This is similar to the Aljo Groves project that occurred in Lee County where we gave them permission to pump water out of the county line ditch into Lee County. They're wanting to do something similar as they own land that abuts a county strip of land, which we know as a railroad right-of-way. There's a canal on the west side, and they want to put a pump in, discharge the water over. Currently, this is just conceptual, so they can apply for a grant, do design and permitting, and if successful, and they can actually perk the water on their property like they think they can, then they'll come back and apply for a grant with FDACS for construction, but they'll need a formal agreement from me at that time.
Yeah, this is a great project. Anything we can do for water quality is on point. I had the opportunity to visit the property on Friday. You know, Jennifer, anything, if there's other projects that we can do, whether with them or anybody else within our county to help us through that BMAP
We should get BMAP
requirements.
credits on this.
Sure. And I was going to talk about that in business by district, but I'll make a motion to approve option one, conceptually approve the placement of an inflow pump station on county-owned property and for the diversion of excess stormwater.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. Thank you, Shane. The next thing is Ms. Jennifer.
Yes, I wanted to bring before you, at several meetings ago, you approved to release by request solid waste liens. And you did that, and we've already released quite a few to date. And so since that happened, there were quite a few folks when the billings went out, a little over $42,000 and some change of people that paid. We've had quite a few phone calls of folks that were unhappy about that, that they paid the bill. And so I'm asking you if you would want to think about refunding the folks that paid and bringing that for your discussion.
Before you all have a discussion, I have someone in the audience that'd like to speak. Augusta Ross. You'll state your name for me, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Augusta Ross, and I'm a resident, Henry County, property owner, Port LaBelle. Okay. I stand because, as Jennifer has stated, we received notice of delinquent bills that I guess had been, as I was told by the property owner, the clerk of court, not clerk of court, but the tax collector, that had been stored away for years, and somebody discovered, and they decided to bill for it. And when the letter stated that the property, there was liens on our property, and I speak for myself and several other people's, that we put out all our effort to start paying on those bills. But then when it was decided, and I thank you, commissioners, for forfeiting those liens, forgiving those liens, and I just feel like we would penalize the ones that put an effort toward paying on them, that our money not be refunded and everybody else is forgiven. So I ask that the board have leniency and have mercy to give us back our money that was paid out.
Yeah, I believe if we're going to play by the rules, we're going to play by the same set of rules. You know, we talk about that on the cemetery when people want a variance on what they have on the cemetery plot. So I'll make a motion to forfeit, refund what has already been paid, but what I would challenge staff to do is to make sure that we don't ever get in this position again. I don't know how we got to this point that we had unpaid garbage. I guess, is it through their property tax? What is that? Tell me.
I can just give you a real quick. So years ago, the county did the billing themselves. Back in the clerk's office, actually sent the bills, and we collected them almost over 30 years ago. And then at some point, the board decided to put them on the trim notice. And so now they go through the tax collector. So the ones that were billed were the old liens that the county used to do the billing on from themselves. And they were just there. And then from that point, I can't tell you the exact number of years, but give or take, probably 27 or 8 years ago, if I had to guess, then they were done on the trim notices, and they're part of the tax bill as a whole. So that's how, and then, you know, for whatever reason, then it was decided to send those out. And so we've communicated. I know that, and Matt can speak in more detail, with the tax collector. I think they've given the county attorney's office quite a bit of information. So the question would be, and we can work this out from a staff perspective, given board direction, who would actually do the refunds. And so we could reach out to the tax collector. She's probably already remitted it to the county. I don't know. I would suggest as a option, we could just remit it back and let her refund it because she's already got the information. If not, it would be, the clerk would have to do it, and the clerk doesn't have the information to do it. So I think it would be better for the tax collector to actually do the refunds
I know
directly.
Kim and I signed off on a lot of them already. So once she do the paperwork, and I did have a list from District 1 where people came in and they was given to Felicia. So I know she's in process of doing it. So I'm pretty sure she'll just, I sit in your office and sign them off on again. So, but you know, so I'm in agreement.
Madam Chair, also, I'd like to, I don't want to put any blame on the tax collector. I commend her for going after what was owed. I think the proper way probably should have been to reach out to us. She was new in her role, but I do commend her for trying to recoup tax dollars that were owed. So, but moving forward, I think we just need to wipe the slate clean, refund in whatever manner you think it's through if it's through the tax collector's office, or if she doesn't want to do it and we handle it. But we'll, I'll make a motion to let you guys handle that.
My thing is, how far back would we go? I know someone was 25 years old.
Well, I would think that the last information I received, that she had collected a little over $43,000. So I would, whatever that amount is that was collected until you guys made the decision to stop the collection, whatever that is, would be what was refunded, and then that would
Only
be
from
it.
the letters that was sent out.
Correct.
Okay.
That should be all. I believe she sent letters out for all that was
Yeah, it
remaining.
was 400 and something like that. Okay.
And sorry y'all got those letters after all those years, but y'all should have paid your bill.
Well, I don't recall receiving those bills. honestly.
I tried that one time. They came and picked up my truck.
But I do say thank you.
You are.
Yes,
Does Commissioner Iglesias' motion need a second?
yes, it do.
Second.
Move by, I'm sorry, recommended by Commissioner Glacier, second by Commissioner Howard. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. Thank you so much, I think. Next we have up is the placeholder.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Emily Hunter, Community Relations and Legislative Director. I sent you all the write-up for this item earlier this afternoon. So this is for board discussion and for you all to provide your direction on how you would like Hendry County to move forward with this topic. So the Area Agency on Aging, which I know that there's staff here to help answer some of your questions as well. So I'll just give sort of a brief summary if possible. So the Older Americans Act, it's federal funding that goes to the state and then is distributed to the area agencies on aging throughout the state. Then they distribute funding to providers for certain services. Some of you all may know that Hope Connections was providing, they have hospice, but then they were also providing additional services such as like the nutrition services and case management, along with some other services. Every so often, they bid these services out. Again, Hope Connections had submitted a bid for those services for the last several years. They did not submit a bid, and no other qualified bidders submitted also. So Area Agency on Aging reached out to the county to inquire about our ability and interest in providing some of those services. We specifically discussed case management and
Screening and assessment.
thank you very much. They did have a nutrition services provider that did bid, and they will be continuing those services. So this is specifically just requesting, again, board direction on how you would like to proceed, and if you have specific questions for the Area Agency on Aging, they're here to provide answers as well.
I have one question.
Can you state your name for me?
Sure,
please?
Sarah Gualco.
So we're going to provide a facility for in-kind donation, correct?
For the Noble Center in LaBelle, correct?
Okay. Does your agency pay rent in other cities or counties?
We do not.
Okay. All right.
We
So
have our.
You know where I was going with that, don't you?
If I may, and I apologize, I should have mentioned it to you when we were talking earlier. So the Noble Center, though, originally, and I don't, know what year or whatever, but when it was donated specifically for senior services.
Okay.
So that's why we don't never charged rent for
I'm good with that.
that service.
So the reason that came up, and back in '08, I found a property in Hendry County that we were providing to the federal government for free. It's called the USDA Farm Agency. Ironically, they were paying rent everywhere else. So I don't believe in giving anything away if you're willing to pay. So that was why I wanted to address that.
So that's on this side of the county, but in the Clueston area, the building, are you all reaching out to continue to use that building?
Right, yeah, we've, as I understand it, Hope Connections, who did operate the nutrition program previously, they had space in kind from Hendry County in LaBelle at the LJ Noble Center, and then space next to the John Boy Auditorium here in Clueston, which we've also requested to remain an in-kind donation. It really provides the sustainability to the program because of the federal match that they have to make as a part of the funding. And then, we have in-kind space donated in Moorhaven through the United Way House, and they've agreed that will continue to be an in-kind donation of space.
So, Jennifer, do we need to go back out and rebid if they didn't submit at that time?
Well, one of the things that we were from a staff perspective is one of the alternatives that was discussed is that if the county chose not to do this, that they would be looking potentially into telehealth, more teleservices.
We would have to seek some short-term solution. For us, we're seeing the county and the resources that you are all connected to is hopefully a sustainability solution for these programs so that, clients can maintain consistency in case management and in services provided, ongoing. In the interim, yes, we would request from the Department of Elder Affairs a short-term waiver, probably for a year, to bring in an agency to provide some virtual case management, at which point we'd have to go to bid again, release a request for proposals and hope that there were an interested party to take on the Older Americans Act case management.
So while we appreciate that, and because we don't want a lack of service as a whole, I don't, from our perspective, we don't think that that's really adequate, right, for all virtual. So we would, if you were not interested in doing this from a case management, if you were to not approve this tonight, for example, we would ask that you would ask them to rebid it. And so I don't know if you have that ability to do that sooner than later.
We are on a short timeline now. The Older Americans Act programs run on the calendar year, so we need an instated, trained agency ready to assume active case management January 1st. We could do a short-term telehealth option maybe for, less than the year, but to say we would be able to rebid and accept proposals with an agency instated and, granted the award for January 1st, I don't think so. Not to mention that we, as stated before, did not get any qualified interest. So, it would, I don't know that if we release this, opportunity again, what would come through.
Madam Chair, could you explain just a little bit more about what it means for our staff to agree to take the lead role?
Do you want to explain the case management positions as a whole? So we would be assuming the grant, we would receive the granting dollars and we would hire case managers and they would do eligibility.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah, the role of the case manager, which statutorily the Area Agency on Aging cannot perform case management duties. So the role of the case manager is really to determine eligibility. From the clients assessed and waitlisted for enrollment from our office, a case manager goes into a home, completes a comprehensive assessment of need, and creates a plan of care. They then authorize services to service vendors. Our contracting model in the past has been to award the full availability of funds to one agency who does the eligibility determination as well as subcontracts to vendors. We have spoken with the county and are willing to assume the responsibility for the vendor contracted services. That's like the home health agencies who are providing the personal care services in the home. But like I said, we cannot do the case management determination. That must be subcontracted out. And so the staffing structure would be that of a case manager, definitely one full-time employee to start, and possibly room for growth. I would say at least one case aide to support, because there is a lot of billing entry to be made into the state database for tracking client services.
With the new agent coming in, would they have to reestablish all over again? The case management, they have to go back to every individual and reestablish them again?
Well, for every actively enrolled client, they're seen at least once. They're seen twice a year, a 6-month review, and then an annual reassessment. So the incoming agency, case management agency, would see clients as they come up for annual reassessment. We've asked Hope Connections to complete all reassessments for January, so that would be beginning February. The case manager would need to be prepared to be in home to perform that reassessment. As well as, the county would need to determine the capacity to enroll new clients, because Hope Connections, knowing that they were exiting from this role, they have not enrolled new clients in this last quarter of the contract, so there might be some room for client growth in that way.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, would any of the current staff there be willing to stay there and come aboard with you guys rather than leaving with Hope?
Well, I couldn't tell you definitively, though I know that their positions were not promised after December 31st with the Chapters Health, which is the parent company now of Hope Healthcare. So I imagine that there will be trained staff familiar with the programs who may be looking for employment, though I couldn't tell you for sure.
Yeah, it just sort of makes sense. If that organization's pulling out and they don't have a place for these folks to call home, they could stay there, and it wouldn't be such a painful transition to try to replace folks that's been there a while. So I was just
The
curious.
thing is to find out if there's anybody qualified that can take that role.
Yeah, Hope Connections currently has 2 full-time case managers, long-time case managers with more than enough experience. It would be, I think, a great branch to reach out to.
We talked about that, and we're hoping that they'll
I would
apply.
think possibly that'd be the first
Yeah.
question to ask. Maybe they want to stay
Yeah.
there and make it run smooth, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
funding, how, if we hire these case managers, is the grant gonna cover it? Or are we gonna be like transportation where we're subsidizing these funds?
The information, it was 59,000 and some change, I think it was, for Hendry, and then it also, we need to talk about the Glades County portion.
9,370.
Right, and then there was an additional amount for Glades County, so we believe that would cover, we would do an in-kind, assuming we can do the in-kind match. I think we confirmed that earlier, for the facility, that it would cover. And you were saying we just needed at least one, correct?
For the current caseload, one full-time
Right.
case manager is more than enough.
Right, so we feel like that funding available would cover.
So what would be our
appropriately.
next step then?
We need you to approve, if you so choose, us to create those positions, and also approve the appropriate budget amendments and documents in Emily's motion that she provided in order so we can go ahead and advertise, go ahead and get hold of these folks that might not have a job after December 31st, and see if we can hopefully get one of those folks on board and start the program.
So one more question. So right now they have service up until December, till the end of December, okay. So that means we need to move, yeah,
Madam Chair,
yes.
did we need to discuss Glades County before we move forward?
Thank you.
The Glades County, so there's a match, but you can have it in kind. And so we would need to, is it 10%? I believe it was.
10% match.
So we need to calculate what that looks like, and if there were to be an additional amount that is required, we would request that Glades County would pay their portion of said match. I don't have the equation in front of me and they would have to approve it, but in my mind, I feel, could be wrong, that the in-kind match for the building, though, probably would cover both, and if it did, I think that's okay. I don't know if we need an interlocal from your perspective with Glades County, to be there, just kind of what we did with, transportation disadvantaged. We have an interlocal with them where they are agreeing that Hendry County is taking the lead role. I don't know if we need to do that for your benefit or for our benefit, Matt. Kind of feel like probably so.
Yeah, I would think so.
And I can talk to, Paul about that, and we can bring that interlocal back at the December meeting.
I just want to be abundantly clear that we're not paying for any services for Glades County residents because we have so many issues with that.
Right. You are agreeable, though, if the in-kind covers it?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
I need 'em.
I would hate to see any more delay in this transition, so I'll make a motion to approve option 1, A, B, and C.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Howard, second by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion stands. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Next, you have Joseph Project.
Yes, ma'am. So at the last meeting, there was a request that came before you to donate dollars to the Joseph Projects. I'm just bringing it back up for discussion. We talked with Matt on Monday, and assuming that the board wants to give an amount, I would ask tonight that you would decide how much you want to give and what you want to give it for. And then we would create a document that stated the same, with reporting requirements, semi-annual of what those dollars are used for, as well as financial reporting and so forth. And that, with the Joseph Project, they're a little bit unique, that we've been talking for some time because we already provide them space. And so I know that the county attorney was working on a license agreement, for example, just for liability purposes, and he would incorporate that language that is required, that he feels that we need to cover ourselves in that same document. And so just looking for direction from the board in what they are looking to potentially donate, and then also the scope for that document, what you want to see it specifically for. He talked about several different programs that they have. One was vocational, for example, and training for different folks, and that seemed to be something that everybody was interested in. And so if you wanted to make it more so specific to that purpose, or if you wanted to broaden that scope, I'm just putting it back before you for discussion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I didn't get the chance to ask him at the last meeting, but do you know what the cost for those phlebotomy classes he put on?
No, I don't. I don't know if it was in his last,
Because I think if we were gonna do anything, and if we done anything that was like vocational, to help people get jobs, to benefit the community, I think that would be
I don't know
something
what
to
they cost.
give toward.
I do know that there was a group of ladies that took the class, and I believe they're working, and they was trying to bring it back, so I don't know.
And maybe it's not specific to that, maybe it's just career training. And then
The
they have
goal
to give
is-
us back a report.
I was
that-
gonna say, the goal is to make sure whatever we decide, that they bring something back, to the board.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
from our last meeting, if I remember correctly, it was $25,000
Was the request.
was the request, and we left it at they were going to go back and look for other ways of funding. Is that not correct?
The meeting prior to this was, we were supposed to have helped establish with the grants. That's what we said that we would do, but I don't think that happened. Now, their responsibility was to try to find a way to also to raise money to help themselves. I don't see it in here. So whatever figure we come back up with, we need to make sure that we cover ourselves by having documentation, because, you know, I'm pretty sure they'll come back, but we need to make sure that we have some type of documentation and come up with a figure that's appropriate for the cause.
We did give, I believe, Ian, $5,000 last year. No, oh, I'm sorry,
They didn't come back,
2022. Okay, 22.
And what was that? Was that specific for,
We didn't have an
it
agreement.
was just a donation to them?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would be open to considering, and maybe this isn't the night to do it, wait till they come back, but matching half of their request based on their ability to raise other funding.
So,
Not making that a motion, I'm just
right.
saying I would be open to that.
So you want to bring it back at a later date, maybe after the first of the year, with their ability to raise additional dollars and get some more specific items for cost to, for example, some of the career training, to see exactly what that might look like?
Well, Madam Chair, let me back up then with what you just said.
Okay.
That is that kind of time delay detrimental to something they're doing? I don't know.
Well, if not, it would come to the next meeting, because we have one meeting, you know, this month and one meeting next month. That's the only reason
It's enough time to
Was saying
request that from them. It's enough time to request that from them.
Because I think if we can get some information from them, and it, you know, if we're talking $10,000, but they need 11, you know, we need to know, you know, we don't want to give them 10 and they can't do anything because they don't have that extra funding.
You're right, Commissioner.
I think if we can get some direction from them,
Okay. We'll bring them back with,
and make it specific, and they have to prove, you know, that they've used those dollars for that purpose.
okay.
I don't want to just give $10,000 or $12,000 just to, you know, go in a regular fund that there's no proof of what was happening with it.
Okay. And the last item, it's not on your agenda, but Ms. Stafford is here, and she is here to give you an update on the Pioneer Fire Department. Also, at the last meeting, you had asked for EMS, some EMS statistics, and she has provided those to me, and I will be sending that out to you in my next briefing that's almost complete. Do you have them with you tonight? She's going to go ahead and give them to you for this last month, but we will start including that in your report.
That's all right. Thank you. Raymond has a way about himself.
Thank you.
Hi, Chief Stafford, for the record. So everyone but Tommy was given a paper. So, and you have the total call volume for EMS, so this is time that the wheels turned out on a 911 call. It's 461 for the month of October. This is countywide and to include mutual aid. Total transports were 205, and then you see the breakdown for what facility they went through or went to. Some of these were transported to a landing zone. Some of these were and then turned over and transported to that facility. But again, we had 205 transports. Any questions regarding the EMS numbers?
I do. Madam Chair, so that 461, that's a lot of calls.
Yes, sir.
So do we get recouped by any of their medical insurance? Do
We
we ask
do.
for that information, right?
Yes, we ask for that information, and then our billing company, we use a company called EMSMC, and they're actually tied into our EPCR, so our patient care report, and they have access on the back end to the hospitals, especially your Lee Healths and stuff, where they can gather that insurance information and then bill. And then we also have a collections agency.
Okay, so on your next report, I'm going to challenge you to bring back some numbers as to how much of that is indigent care. So I use that because at Hendry Regional Hospital, and it's been a few years, they operate with a 70% indigent care, so it falls on the tax burden of the taxpayer. So I'm just curious on the EMS side, what does that look like?
So I won't be able to bring back like month for month. So they bill in the arrears, and then there's time and things like that. So I could go back to like
A year?
maybe August numbers and give you like, oh, in August we had this and we've recouped this amount of
Or
money.
give me like a 12-month
But-
roll
okay.
or something. Give me
Okay.
something substantial.
Okay, yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
And if we can get how many of these transports were Hendry County and how many were Glades County, so we can see.
Do you want that broken down based on our mutual aid agreement, our automatic aid response, or do you want outside of automatic aid, mutual aid Glades County calls?
Just
I would say
simple-
outside, right?
Yeah, outside.
Because
Outside.
we owe it for the
Automatic.
mutual aid, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so outside.
Yeah, if they do 20 for us and we do 20 for them, then it's a wash, but.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
And then the Pioneer, she's gonna give an update on
And then
Pioneer.
there's the fire numbers as well. They're broken down by department, how many were medical, how many were fire, and then their total for the month. Any questions on the fire call volume? Okay, and so with any great plan, it looks great on paper, and then when it comes to fruition, it can be a little bit different. So, but that's okay. With growth comes stumbling, comes roadblocks, so forth and so on. But starting next week, we will have a unit at the Pioneer Fire Station on one particular shift. So when I originally pitched this to you, I had 5 full-time employees. One had a medical emergency. They are no longer able to participate in this. And I've had 2 of them that have opted not to because of personal reasons, or it's outside of the collective bargaining agreement, or whatever that might be. So I currently have 2 employees that are going to be full-time. I'm onboarding another employee. So what we will do is we will staff that unit on B shift, and then C shift would be picked up by overtime if necessary. A shift would not. As I onboard and I train, then that will pick up, and we will go. I don't want to start something that's not going to be stable. So if I can do 1 shift and I can guarantee that it will be on that 1 shift every day, then that's better than not having it at all. So that's the way that I have chose to work this project. I spoke with someone else today that is on the fence of changing their mind. So I'm hoping that as this gets traction, that they will see that this is real, that this is a thing, and that it's a good thing, and that we'll pick up from there. But again, the unit is there. The Lighthouse Point unit is there, stocked, ready to go. Internet is coming in next week. Everything else for the station is ready to go. We've spent a lot of money. I apologize, Ian, but we're ready. We just have to get the people there and get it staffed. So, do you have any questions regarding Pioneer?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So say you can't get enough employees to make this a reality. Would it be possible just to staff an ambulance with a paramedic and EMT at this station and do away with the dual cert?
We could, but at this point,
I know you want to try it.
yeah,
and
we want to try it.
Make it work.
We have to get there at some point. Doing it little by little is really the ideal way to do it. So we have people that expressed interest in going to school. We have others that are looking, we're going to start onboarding those that are dual certed and kind of evolve to that. But we have to start somewhere. So if we have it, we'll kind of change our EMS model on that shift. We'll have 2 in Clewiston, we'll have 2 in LaBelle, the 1 in Muse, and the 1 in Pioneer on that shift. The next day, when we don't have that Pioneer unit, then we'll staff it in LaBelle. I don't want to have 6 units one day and then 4 units another day. So we're going to keep the level of service where it is. It's just a matter of where that unit's going to be.
So can you put on those other 2 shifts, can you put a paramedic, an EMT there? That's not dual cert, and you just don't run fire
We could.
until you do get
Yeah,
more people?
we could if there was that need, or we could just in general and fill it with overtime and do that. But if it doesn't pick up, if we don't see that, that's what we will do once this we work the kinks out and things like that.
Madam Chair, do you kind of have looking forward an end date if you can't get enough, I'll say volunteer participation with the program?
No, I don't. I haven't set that day yet. I'm optimistic that we won't have to do that, and that this will evolve. Again, we're going to be changing kind of the way that we're advertising. We're going to be increasing some of that in hopes that we can kind of move that.
So going forward with new hires, are we making it a requirement that they, no, not yet?
No, it will not be a requirement. It will be preferred.
It'll
but
be an incentive.
It'll be an incentive like it is now. It would be preferred, but I'm not going to turn away a single cert.
Right.
Or require our current single certs I'm not going to force our current single certs to go to school.
So if you hire somebody that's single cert, what's the time frame and cost to get them dual certified?
Time frame, you're looking at no more than 9 months. To go to a fire academy, it's going to be less than $5,000. Basically, that would be it. And we would do the same thing that we do with a paramedic. They would sign a 2-year agreement. We can work with their schedule. We can pay for their schooling and go.
Okay.
Ma'am, did you have a
They in
question?
school, do they have on-hand training?
Yes.
I mean, so they're working yet still going to school?
Yes,
What's
ma'am.
the beginning starting salary?
Starting salary for an EMT right now is $52,000. A dual certed would be $62,000, an additional $10,000. Starting paramedic is, I believe, $61,000, and then a dual certed would be $71,000.
Good.
Which is comparable to the areas considering our call volume.
Madam Chair, not Pioneer, but, you're still able to put a truck in Montour? You still do that? Are
So
you
we
putting
have Clewiston, Montura, Station 219 in LaBelle, EOC, and Muse, and then we'll have Pioneer.
So you do have enough, trucks to cover everything, employees at this point?
Yes,
Like
sir,
you said,
unless you'd like to
the
get
dual
more.
cert would be amazing, but if we don't have it, so you're still, I was just curious, I get complaints on Montour all the time, but it's not that. It's a leaking roof, but we'll talk about that later.
And I think, getting an ambulance to a heart attack is more important than getting a fire truck to a shed or a structure that's on fire, as long as the people are out of it. So that's the main thing.
That's a tough nut to crack. What if a person's inside when the fire's burning and they had the heart attack in the house? I mean, come on.
So if you got a paramedic there, maybe you can.
You can just upset.
Not mine.
Yeah.
It was Miss Bird.
That means your time is up. Thank you.
Don't leave yet. I got another question. And since we have you up here, we don't get you that often, so, quite a few years back, and I know we got the situation over in, on Pollywog where you put the Glades County and all that's, I'm assuming that's working okay, or are we having any issues, or? Okay, because the reason asking that question, just to go a little further, is at one point, we were talking about doing something further out west. And we had property out there for one point. And I know Mr. Harris had severe heartburn over it. But for many, many years, Glades County operated out of a modular home with a pole barn, and we was able to provide service in that area. And that was something I was really pushing for back when Mr. Harris really had heartburn. And then we went into cahoots with Glades County, and they kind of put a kink in that. So my question is, going forward, and this is something I'm going to ask you guys to look at, is the possibility still, if we have the property, to getting something further out west over there to do that? If it could be a fire truck and ambulance, that'd be amazing, but I'd settle for an ambulance. Out that way, it's a long ways, and if for some reason the bridge is up, it's even further. If Fortino Bridge is down, we don't have a secondary avenue there. So I'm just out of curiosity, looking ahead, not tomorrow. I'm just saying, looking ahead, can we bring that back to the table and just investigate what it would be to put something further out west for the constituents out in that area?
Ryan and I have actually had a couple conversations. So I get letters all the time asking me to give us service availability.
Right, right.
So I had I don't know what was 5 letters that I got all in a matter of a week. So I went to Ryan and I was like, hey, I can't. So him and I have started that conversation, looking at the growth, looking at the people that are coming here. What would be the ideal locations? What are the no-go locations and why they're the no-go locations? So that conversation has already started. We're having it. We're looking at it. He knows what locations we're looking at and why we're looking at those and why we wouldn't be looking at others.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. You got quite a few developments looking out that way, but even without those right now, between 14 Scott Windy Road and all that area out there, you have the new homes. There's quite a bit out there, so it really is a necessity, a need now. So I'm just curious. So thank you, and please keep me updated on that. I'd like to see more about that going forward.
Thank you. No other questions for him? Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak? I can't add Alan, y'all. He left, so I can't.
He
pull
did
him.
skip out, huh?
Got the other director here.
I just y'all wanted Alan. Y'all can't have it both ways. Thank you. We're going district by district.
All right, let's start with my 10 things. Nah, I don't have anything tonight. I'm gonna cut it short tonight.
Hallelujah.
That's it. I'm gonna
Wow.
reach out to Jennifer on the 2 things. I don't need to bring it up in the meeting. They're
Okay.
minor roads.
Okay. Well, I'll take your role tonight then, I guess. After we adjusted our county attorney's salary a few meetings ago, it did create a roughly 14% disparity with our engineer. I know Shane doesn't like to sit here for this discussion, but I think it's vitally important. I have a suggestion, and I'll throw it out there, and then we can discuss it. But I really think that gap needs to be closed, and 14% is a significant reach. And so I'll throw out the suggestion of going ahead and giving a 7% increase to the engineer now, and look at the other 7% next fiscal year. And
Why can't we just move it up to 10% and let it be done with? Why come back next year?
Is that a motion?
Madam Chair, before you make that motion, there was another person in that equation as well. It's our
I'm
county
talking about both
administrator.
of 'em, so I
Okay,
think
as long as we got them both in there,
got
that's.
both of 'em. I got
And I
both
think
of 'em.
if that's if you need a motion, I'd make that motion.
I need a motion.
You got it. Motion to adjust the county administrator and county engineer by 10%.
second.
Motion by Commissioner Will, second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. Thank you. What a way to end the meeting.
Oh, one
We ain't
more,
over yet.
One more.
He said he had about 10.
No, I only have 2. I only have 2. To this point, it has just gone on really long on acquiring those 2 properties for the AWAS for LaBelle Airport. And I know Shane has worked diligently, and his staff has worked diligently trying to even make contact with the property owners. There's 2 properties, 3026 Adcock and 3030 Adcock. And those are the 2 remaining properties we need to acquire to put in something that is vital to aviation safety at the LaBelle Airport. And so and I'll go back, I think this process started about 4 to 5 years ago. So I guess the question, and I'm kind of pointing this towards Mr. Rollerson, is I'll tell you, I hate the words eminent domain, but I feel like we're kind of have our hands tied, and maybe if we step over that line and then broach that subject, that it would be maybe even spark some negotiation from the property owners if we could ever draw them out to have that negotiation.
I'm not super familiar with this project or the property or the number of properties involved, but I mean, it's a tool in our toolbox. It's not without, some concerns. Obviously, we'd rather have a cooperative approach, and there's two different ways to do it depending on our urgency. So there's a quick taking and a slow taking sections of statute. So I'm gonna have to look into it more. I can get with Shane and can talk about it and get some more direction from the board, at that time.
Well, at some point, you may never breach the property owners, and we have to make a decision. And I don't think it's one of just scrapping the project. I think it needs to move forward, so.
So I'm happy to look into it. I need to know a lot more about it and, how we're gonna, and direction, obviously, and authority of the board.
Yeah, 3026 Adcock, you said?
Yes.
They've had that property since 1992. And then 3030 they've had since 2005, so I can say, okay, well, maybe they just hadn't developed, but 1992, I mean, at some point.
But what's the purpose, I'm new on the board, so what's the purpose of this project? What's those lots needed for?
Well, right, we want to, well, actually, and if I can say this correctly, we have the funding awaiting us. Is that correct, or how do you want to? Right, that's the right word. Thank you. But we probably will be able to get that funding. It's an automated weather system for pilots. Right now, if a pilot needs to find out what the weather is in LaBelle, he has to go to Immokalee and get the weather. Well, the weather in Immokalee is not always the same as what it is in LaBelle Airport. So there's a significant safety factor in having the AWAS in place. And with the increased traffic we're getting at LaBelle Airport, I think we need to take that hard step, which I don't like, but there isn't any other alternative.
So
That's the lot it needs to.
There's two
where it
lots.
needs to be.
Well, Shane, do you want to explain that?
The AWAS is located on the airport, but it has I think it's a 500-foot or a larger distance circumference around it that you cannot have any obstructions. And the county's purchased lots on the east side of Forky Drive, so no structures could be built. Well, it's kind of checkerboard. We have this one, we don't have this one.
the
we have
lots will
this one.
stay vacant.
They'll stay vacant
Oh,
forever,
okay.
just get mowed.
I was
And
thinking
there's
you
only
put a
two
tower
lots.
there.
They're valued at probably around $25,000, $30,000. And the one landowner passed away. We actually went to their house and put cards, mailed letters, no responses. The other one, it's from someone from the someone in Miami, the police department received, but we think that person's either probably maybe in a home or being taken care of, or may have passed away, we don't know. So, yep. So it's just two lots in between. Now, we thought we were told by DOT that we had funding if we could secure a deal and get it set up to buy, that they would write a grant to pay us back. Wouldn't cover the survey costs or anything like that, but pay for the purchase. And then
They would pay appraised value?
They'll pay over appraised value if it's reasonable.
Okay.
And then FAA said that they would like to fund a AWAS, but they don't want to fund it if we can't get the grant, because if they design it, they're concerned it'll set too long on the shelf, and then it'd have to be updated again. So if we get the land, then more likely we'll be able to secure funding for designing of an AWAS.
Okay. So great topic. So how do we pursue from here?
We'll have to wait to hear from Mr. Rollerson, I would think.
Yeah, and that's what the eminent domain, the issue is, well, it depends on which section you want to follow. One is the long taking really is it's a negotiation over the value, and then you close at the end of that, whatever the parties get to, or whatever the court decides. The quick taking is you take it now and fight about money later. But the fight's always going to be about money. That's going to be the sticking point on. That's going to be the dispute among the parties. It's not. We certainly have a right to do it, and it's no question for public purpose. So that's not worthy of a dispute on their behalf. It's going to be about the value.
Okay. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Real quick, to start off, Ryan, I really appreciate the way you stood for the people of Hendry County tonight. Everything you stated there was right on point. I want to thank you for that. And I agree with you 150%. That's going to be an amazing project, but it's not going to benefit one person who lives in Hendry County right now. That's the fact. It's going to benefit people it brings in. That's it. So I want to make sure that no one living in Hendry County has to put one penny towards anything down there at all. And I'm not going to argue with them. I'm just going to make my comments tonight, and when they want to come back and discuss it, they're welcome to. It's public. That is going to benefit no one here. Tax dollars coming in, just so everyone knows, the people of Hendry County right now are really fed up with property getting just gobbled up and homes everywhere. Everyone knows that. We're all getting the same calls. I'm not the only one getting them. I believe we need to make sure when developments come into Hendry County, it's going to be beneficial to Hendry County. All the money that comes in is not going to come to Hendry County. Some of that's going to go to Collier County. That's a fact. So I just want us to be, clear-eyed on this. I don't want anybody to have any misconceptions. A lot of people call me and they said, hey, how can you turn this down? I said, well, are you going to be a member? Well, no. Well, then you're never going to use this course. No, it's a golf course. Yeah, I get it. It's a golf course. But if you're not a member, you will never put one tee in the dirt.
They won't be able to afford to be a member of the golf course.
Thank you.
It's the high
So
end.
beneficial when it comes into it, does it benefit? It benefits through some tax dollars. But then you got to look at everything else as well. That's the reason I'm really strong on when you said earlier, what about the trucks? Everything. A loaded salary, a loaded complimentary, whatever vehicles are required. If they don't want to do that, then I'm going to be the one sitting here saying I'm not interested. Just so everyone's clear, it's a public meeting, you'll hear it.
Well, that's why I asked that question the way that I did, and she's an attorney, so later on, when it's not the equipment, no.
We'll leave it there.
I,
So the whole thing with this is, I just want to be clear. We got more developments that's going to come before this board. I'm not going to sit here and sell Hendry County. I'm not going to do it. I live here, my grandkids live here, my great-grandchild will live here. I want to make sure that when I'm no longer in this chair, that I can go to bed at night knowing that what he stood up there and said tonight is just as strong 4 years from now, 8 years from now, whatever the case may be. Because that's important, that staff stands up, and they didn't like what staff said. I don't care. I appreciate it. What you said was needed to be heard. And so going forward, I want you to stay just as tight on that and make sure everything, we're holding them to the letter. If there's a T not crossed, call them out on it. I love the idea that we have some stuff coming, but I want it to be beneficial to the people of Hendry County. That's my biggest thing. So with the developments across the river, everything with that, same thing. I don't want them to have to drive to town every time they need a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk. They need to be able to get it on site. Try to keep all your traffic off our roads. Same thing with this, commercial, retail. We need to make sure, everyone, when we do these, when we allow these projects, we need to make sure it's not going to put stress on our roads. Guess what? Highway 29 is a nightmare. This is going to put traffic on Highway 29. I don't care how you go to it. The only way it's not is if you fly out of there. Other than that, you're going to go to Highway 29 to go south or to go north. It's pretty simple, unless you go to 846 and go over, and now that road's just as bad a shape. So we just got to keep the whole big picture in mind as we make these decisions. Keep in mind who it's going to affect. Maybe it's not going to affect you right now, but again, 78, that's going to affect a lot of people. Some of this stuff out there we're looking at, Commissioner Howard, it's going to affect your family personally. We need to keep this in mind, and guess what? This is not affecting my family, but it's affecting friends that live there and his family all around it. So, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to get up here and beat a drum much longer. I'm about to be done with it, but I just want everyone to know that's where I'm at. Anything coming into town, it needs to be contained in there. I had a meeting with Mr. Ryan Alexander, and I told him the same thing. I don't want to see your project. You have a nice raised berm with a nice fence on it, nice vegetation all around it, trees all around it. I don't care where they build it at. And I got a comment from one of the developers, well, this isn't Collier County. No, but it's going to look just as dadgum good as if you built it in Collier County. If not, you won't build it here. As long as I can sit here and complain about it, I will. So with that being said, that's it. I'll leave that alone from there. I guess you kind of understand where I'm at. Shane, the road out going two-wheeler, where are we at on that? How's that coming? She's going to be mad now, but how's it coming?
On Wheeler Road, Miss English, she sent over the document to the county attorney's office. Matt's reviewed it. I reviewed it. Felicia sent it back to Kate's office, so just got to get finalized. And if that may come back before the board in December, or it could be January. Was hoping to get it to this meeting, but what that does is just set the stage that they're going to give up. We're going to give up easements on their property, and they're going to give us easements on their property. But we'll have to then move forward with hiring a design consultant to design the road to determine the road width and the area needed for stormwater management. And that will be used to describe the legal description that will be needed from them. So basically, it's just setting the framework up.
So just from the hip, just shoot from the hip. Is there any way this road's gonna be done in the next 3 years?
Could be.
Best and worst case.
Best case, 3 years, but it could be. It just depends on design. We're closing out the Wheeler Road. If we have money left on that loan, if that's enough to be able to do the design project, we move forward. If not, we come back and ask you how you want to fund it. We are pursuing DOT funding, but the goal is to move forward. So this is the biggest hurdle, this one here.
Okay. I guess a few more questions, but I'll get with you on the side for that.
Okay.
Tommy, again, I want to ask you, you give us a report on the, where we're at as far as code cases and everything with that. I know that's a hard job. I ain't gonna make you get up. I just want to commend you on the work that you and your staff are doing. People complained about the last meeting, how we patted you on the back. Well, I'm gonna do it again tonight. It's a thankless job, but guess what? Take care of your property. You won't show up at their property if you don't have problems, reason to be there. So, again, it's a hard job. Thank you, you and staff both, for what you do. The last thing I have is I just want to keep the former mayor Dave Lyons' family in your prayers. He passed. His services are Saturday. Just so some of you knew Mr. Lyons, some of you maybe didn't, but keep his family in prayer as they prepare to lay him to rest Saturday. That's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I don't have anything.
Well, I'd like to thank staff also. I did get your report, Tommy, and they are doing an excellent job, but I just asked that the young lady came in. We can help her if we direct her on bringing her things in and put a coping around it. She can keep her things. It's just the way she have to do it.
That's just not Tommy, though.
Well,
I know it's not Tommy, but he talked to,
we'll reach out to
Yeah.
Daniel and
because it
figure
can-
out
she- yeah, I'm
specifically.
sorry, she can keep it.
Right.
It's just, it's how she can keep it.
Right.
Just to try to, touch her heart.
Right.